for you
Yeah.
and for me would have some value added.
Absolutely. I'll email you about that. We're also talking with Greentown Labs about maybe doing something about clean tech, so maybe we can make it a joint event.
Mm-hmm.
I see Inga is here. Hi, Inga.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Good morning.
This roundtable, but not new in this event. So join Texas because region, Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, based in New York. And in New York, I am co-founder of Baltic American Chamber of Commerce. And also, we are running program for startups. We call BAG Accelerator. And why I joined this Texas roundtable, because we have startups not necessarily from the we have from Canada who are in green energy space. And I thought, wow, Texas could be probably a destination that would be interesting for them. And they are looking for funding, for investors, for the opportunities. And this is good point, Susanna, that and Gabor, you mentioned about some meeting demo days. And this is, we can invite some startups which sectors could be relevant to present themselves, and maybe they would find some good match during this event.
Yeah, we can start an email chain about this because I also feel if we do it as a region, it's more impactful than just trying to, do it on our own. There's an accelerator called Greentown Labs. They're based out of Massachusetts, but they opened up and they specialize in green tech. They opened up an office, a space, a hub in Houston because of what's happening with clean energy and green tech, right? You're seeing a lot of the big energy companies wanting to learn more, have more solutions, really starting to invest more in that because of the impact, right, that it's making. And Poland has an accelerator called Green Evo, where it's funded by the Ministry of Climate, and it's about clean tech startups. So I started talking to them about perhaps doing some sort of demo day or something, but I'd be more than happy to, do a group effort and, like I said, open it up, or we can just focus on ICT in general. The ION is a tech hub for Houston. I'll send you that information, Inga, because since you're in New York, you might not know our local players, obviously. But the ION is also, a tech hub, and we can do something in general there. I have a really good contact in terms of their director of partnerships. She's come to an event I've organized, so I can find out what the parameters are. Some of these places, they do want you to pay, right, to help organize a demo day. Some they don't. So I can find out, absolutely, and then loop you guys in.
And you, Susanna, mentioned IT or ICT, like in general. I think that a huge potential could be from companies from Baltic region. It's like overall, Lithuania, they are very strong in these innovations, and all of them see that they are looking for the market in the United States, whereas this could be a good opportunity just to pay them this demo.
Absolutely. And I think what Gabor was mentioning in terms of matchmaking, I do my best, right, in terms of going to events, finding contacts, emailing people. But, it's the company itself. It's hard. It's difficult when you're so far away. But I think one of the blessings of COVID is the ability to do something online that we could showcase these companies and get the word out there. Each company has its own solution. Each company has its own niche. I don't fear competition. I think competition in terms of working together is better to work together than alone. And I think that's one of the great things about Austin in particular, in Texas, where there is that spirit of working together. The tide lifts all the boats rather than,
And about this competition, I just I always think is United States so big. It's just like everyone's, as you're saying, you can find your niche. It's not about the competition. Find your customer, find your client. This is be strategic. Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. I completely agree. But I have to go now. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay, Gabor.
No
But
problem
yeah,
here.
that was actually a
So,
quick and really productive thing, and I'm 100% in.
Inga,
So
chat me your email, and then I'll start an email chain today just so we're all connected. And then as soon as I get more information, I'll filter it down to you guys.
yeah, just
Wonderful.
I'm trying to figure out, is it a chat box where I can type
Yep.
my email?
Yep, and I'll copy it. And then I have Gabor's email, and then we can just
have a wonderful day. Bye
stay
bye.
in touch. Bye, Gabor.
Likewise.
Very nice seeing you.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you, Inga. Bye bye.
Nice meeting you. Suzanne, trying to find where it's right. Here it is. Okay.
Got it?
Yeah. I can leave myself skinner. And are you based in Susanna in Texas?
I'm in Texas and Houston.
Oh, okay.
Austin is I don't know if you've been reading or catching up, but Austin has become this. I'm not saying a replacement for Silicon Valley, but it's rivaling Silicon Valley.
I know this is booming. Everyone, even from New York, they all. How many companies I know they moved to Austin? It's like,
Yep.
yeah, this is agree completely. That probably is like right now. I don't know what is like industries. Is it like something that dominates where you would see, or just everything you can?
In Austin, it's everything. I think you can't really nail it down. Gaming industry, SaaS. It's really everything. CPG products.
Okay.
It's really everything. FinTech is starting to become a thing as well. Because of that migration from New York.
Right.
With more VCs coming, right? The drawback to Austin was always that if you wanted to get money, you had to go to New York or San Francisco, right? But that's really changing, and the shift is changing. Houston, I think it's more about the energy industry, the medical center, and SaaS products. In Houston, you have over 30 Fortune 500 companies headquartered in Houston, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing med tech or anything, and we have the world's largest medical center in Houston. So if there's anything tied with that, that's a good place. But I would say Austin is more industry agnostic. It's a great place to get a foothold in terms of, a good customer base, but you're also close to your customers, right? Texas is the 9th largest economy. And in terms of location, you're right in the middle of the country, right? It's a 3.5-hour flight to New York, because I would do it all the time because that's where I'm from, or 3.5 hours to California. So the location is great. Chicago's 2 hours. So it's a great location. Cost of living is, it used to be a little cheaper, but I'm not going to tell you. It's increasing.
Yeah, you should be. It is demand, business very fast react to that.
Rent in Austin has increased crazy amounts. Houston is still kind of the same because it hasn't experienced that dramatic influx, right, that Austin has. Even 3 years ago, there were 150. When I first moved to Austin, I spoke to the mayor, came to one of an event I was running, and I think he told me that 150 people moved to Austin on a daily basis, and that was 3 years ago. So I'm sure it's changed in the past year. There's Ben. Inga, Ben is with the World Affairs Council in Austin, and we were just talking. Inga is with the Baltic Accelerator,
American Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, Baltic American Chamber of Commerce in New York.
In New York, yeah. Nice to meeting you, Ben.
So good to meet you as well, and Susanna. I was hearing parts of your conversation. I had to come in and out a couple times, so hopefully you can hear me at this point.
Yep, can hear you. Perfect.
Well, good. Yes, as you mentioned, Austin is a growing region. One of the fastest regions in the U.S. and have over 8,300 tech companies in our area. there's a lot of opportunity for companies that might be coming from the Baltics to come into our region, and I'd be more than happy to talk a little bit more about that. I heard and you were talking a little bit about venture capital and how much it's grown even in the Austin region here of Texas. For many years we were chasing after venture capital firms to not only invest in the companies here and the startups that we had, but also move and set up offices here in Texas, specifically our Central Texas region. And so we've finally gotten success on that from Silverton Partners, Live Oak Venture Partners, Next Coast Ventures. Have had several of those companies looking at over $100 million rounds of funding to raise. So it's a really exciting time for our companies in that tech industry sector, and the opportunity for companies to actually grow into unicorns here. We've had several in different diverse industry sectors, from logistics to software as a service and others, and that's just been in the last year, really. So really interesting market to look at, and I'll be more than happy to follow up with you and Susanna on any items that y'all might have discussed before I jumped on.
Yes, we discussed, Ben, that this Baltic American Chamber of Commerce, this organization who helping companies from the Baltic states, they have a program accelerator for startups, and it's not only from Baltic state. There are startups from Armenia, from Canada, we even have from Singapore, and all of them, they are looking for funding for investors. I am working also with grower companies, as you said, that they would like to set up offices. Sometimes they know only New York and maybe West Coast, and once we start to talk to them, why you have to be there in the most expensive city? It just doesn't make sense at all. Look at other regions, where is your client? And this is opportunity just to present themselves, to meet some I don't know, business partners. Could be several angles. It's like grower companies to meet business partners, startups to pitch to VCs, and to set up maybe offices in this region. This would be interesting. We have very promising startups right now, some from Lithuania in green energy, one also in Canada. They are set up company right now in New York. But of course, medtech a lot companies. It's like health tech portfolio, probably the biggest what we have. It's like very promising and high level, and just like high tech innovations and a lot. So maybe we can think something, I don't know what network you have and what we can use. Online platforms works best, what I found during pandemic right now, and this is probably to have this e-meeting, Zoom meeting would be really interesting.
And you're on mute. So Inga, we can absolutely circle, look at doing an event together. Ben, in Austin, I was telling Inga that it's pretty industry agnostic, right? It's not like Houston is more energy, right? Medical, and that as well. But in terms of sort of doing an event, I would love to do something in Austin. Capital Factory has been a place where I was a member. They're always doing events there. It's a little difficult now I've been having some issues getting in touch with people there. Ben, I don't know if you might have some better contacts. But yeah, I think, Inga, that would be a great idea to kind of join forces and do something together. Absolutely. You're still on mute, Ben.
hear you, Ben. You are muted. Ben, you probably have to, you will see on the bottom line, it's like icons, and you can click on this like microphone icon. Yeah, he was good, and right now. No, we can't hear. You can make a full screen, Ben, and maybe then you will see on the bottom line microphone icon. And if you click on this, you will be unmuted. Or you also maybe can try on the top, on the right. It's like click this. Oh, no. Yeah.
It's at the bottom. Yeah.
We can hear you. And Susanna, what type are you, have you organized something before? Can you imagine what kind of platform it could be? Is it like, and what would be, what we can invite from like Texas? Any thoughts?
So I organized, it was an event, it was a tech, kind of an innovation summit, and oh, Ben's back.
But go ahead.
You
No, go ahead,
out.
Ben. You go ahead, and then I can continue what I was doing.
Yeah, and more than happy to help partner on an event here. I'll reach out to Capital Factory because they have gone through some changes because of the pandemic and really limiting the amount of international focus that they had. But I think that would be a great location to do an event and talk about exposing some of those companies to the Austin market. And we are agnostic, as you mentioned, Susanna, earlier. So yeah, more than happy to help with that as well.
Great, thanks, Ben. I know that Fred and Ali were my contacts there, but they're no longer there. So yeah, like I mentioned, if you might have some, Inga and I are gonna be in touch, and then we can, absolutely connect with you, Ben, about doing something maybe in the, with travel restrictions. It's been a little tough. I don't know if you've encountered that, Inga, with companies coming over. Right now from the Schengen territory, they're not allowing travel. So I've had companies that were actually, that had business interest, right? They had signed with a distributor. They wanted to come over, see facilities. They weren't allowed. So I'm hoping that this
it's complicated. What I suggest, if we would think right now, for example, July, August, or wherever, it could be online, I suggest, probably for companies who are still in the Baltic states or wherever they are. This would be easier, because to gather everyone to like Texas is in these times, I think, is too ambitious.
Yeah, no, I think definitely doing something online absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, we can use,
sure.
I can use like our chambers, we can host event. Most important that we can invite specific audience to attend. I think companies we will find also who would be willing to meet, but it would be some investors or potential partners. Also, we can think, should we do like some sectors, or we just in overall IT, ICT? We can discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. I used a great platform. I had an innovation event a couple of months ago. It's Remo. And it allows you to network and such. I could see if we could use it again, if we would need a platform for sure.
But if not, as I said, it's no problem. We're doing a lot of events on Zoom. We'll be able to host.
Do Zoom. Absolutely, for sure. I think right now, there's some burnout in terms of online events. I don't know what you guys have noticed, but I've noticed attendance decreasing, especially
Right.
coming into the summer months.
Yeah,
Right.
agree. But if you have like event, it's really like this purpose, and it's not like one of
Yeah.
millions Zooms. It's probably, I think that you can get interest.
Mhm. No, absolutely. Are you maybe sometime, I don't know, are you thinking in September or August? What are you thinking, Inga, initially?
I'm not sure how this holidays, like we are startups, if we're looking, they always looking for opportunities. In September, I see that a lot of who already planning their visits. This could be, I don't know, August late. Again, not sure how this holidays, maybe in
I
Europe.
think, yeah. I think August in Texas is when everyone sort of unplugs, Ben. What do you think? That's been my experience.
Yeah, it's hard to get people, especially with this past year. They haven't been able to travel at all in the United States, really. And so taking the family, I would imagine, would be a higher priority this August, as opposed to even what we've seen in the past from Texas companies, right?
Yeah.
So I think it will be difficult, but September is always an opportunity. We've been working with Tom Barnhart as well, related to our Texas European Union, which will take place on September 21st. And we're hoping Tom is planning on doing a section on Central and Eastern Europe. So we could even look at something related to this type of program during the summit. Or work around, promoting companies around this EU summit as well.
I also thought Austin Startup Week would be a good opportunity for this. That's normally it's, in person. I don't know what they're planning. And again, that's something that Capital Factories usually is one of the organizers. I mean, that's sort of the main hub where the Startup Week takes place, but that's a huge event. I mean, there's so many people that come to that. I can see if, I'll try to find out if they're doing it in person or are they doing a hybrid event. And I was talking to Ali and Fred about trying to do something for Polish startups a couple of years ago around Austin Startup Week, but that might be also a great opportunity. In addition
sounds really exciting. I think, Susanna, if we can make it like around, maybe during this week, talk to organizers during this week to have a half of day or 1 day or wherever, or simultaneously for Central Eastern European startups demo, something like a block. And if they can do like hybrid event, like stream online, that would be probably ideal. We can invite Poland startups, we can invite Lithuanian startups, Estonian, and this is probably, for me, sounds that it could work. And do you know when is normally taking place this startup week?
Austin Startup Week, I believe, was either the last week of September or the first week of October. But let me check. Let me check this year. Does that sound about right, Ben? You know better.
We tried to arrange it near Austin City Limits Music Festival, so that after Startup Week, everyone could go and hang out with the Austin City Limits music.
Sorry, this year it's October 3rd through the 7th.
3rd to the 7th, yeah.
Then Susanna, could you please? Then it will take place?
So I just checked, it's October 3rd through the 7th.
Oh, okay.
And I'm looking to see if it's online or in person. But I'm not, I think there's an email to contact about questions, so I'll email them and get a.
Yeah, would be just, we maybe even if they plan in live, maybe we can suggest. We will bring international flavor to your event, and to invite these companies who would not be able maybe to come, just to have this like for Central Eastern European startups. This would be interesting, I think. Let's then shoot for October first week.
Yeah, it would be great, Inga, and they have, as Susanna was mentioning, they have in the past done some programs with international companies, so it would fit right in. It's just a matter of us having friends that Ali would be running a lot of the programming itself, and so hopefully he's back in that position, and we can have a really nice program.
Ali
for
moved
these
to
different companies.
Houston to do his own thing. So
Yeah.
Ali isn't there. We'll figure it out, Inga. Ben and I will put our heads together and we'll figure out
Very good.
how to and get some more information. Ben's the expert, so for Austin, I'm unfortunately exiled in Houston. So.
All right, very good. So sounds like a plan.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a very a budding international community. Houston, you always talk about when I first moved to Houston, people tell me it's the fourth most diverse city in the United States, has over 90 consulates. But I think a lot of the consulates in the international community is realizing the power of Austin in terms of, again, tech and IT. So you have a growing international presence. And again, I think that's because of Ben's work, and the Austin Chamber of Commerce has been very instrumental in trying to get that international focus going.
Good. So I got also your emails, Rosanna. So let's exchange, and maybe we can something to have in this October week. All right. So
yeah, that'll be fun, absolutely.
Running to another meeting. So nice to meeting you, Susanna and Ben, and hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bye.
Definitely.
Have a good day.
Good to meet you. You too.
Bye.
Ben, I'll share Inga's email address with you later.
Thank you so much. I had to switch to the phone, and even with this, it was kicked me off or muted me, so, and I didn't touch anything. Very odd.
I started to have issues with when Inga was speaking and you were speaking with breaking up, so I turned my camera off. Like I said, I think the internet is done with Zoom calls and video conferencing. It
Definitely
needs a break.
And I saw you and Gabor earlier, and I wasn't able to speak and tell him thanks, but yeah, we'll just this would be really interesting. I'm looking forward to the startup week then, because we missed out on it last year, and it'll be nice just to see a lot of the tech people in a more social environment. Hopefully it is in person, or because it's just going to be based on what the restrictions are at the time. Even for the EU summit, we're thinking about only being at 50% in person, as opposed to years in the past where we had 120 people in the room. So we'll see how this turns out.
So Ben, what are the restrictions like because I haven't been up since the pandemic. I'm hoping to start. I used to try to get into town once a month and work out of Capital Factory. What are the, because I know everything's open 100%, but are in-person meetings happening? Because they are in Houston. I don't know what Austin's like.
They are happening. It's just a matter of which venue you're at, because I was talking with Sharice Bodish yesterday, and they're planning on having in-person events starting in July,
Okay.
but only 15 people in a room. So, and that might change, of course, increase, hopefully, but even planning on an event in September with Sharice, we're still looking at 15 people in the room. So you know, some of the larger facilities, of course, the bars and restaurants, they're packed, right? Almost like a pre
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, that's what, well, the shooting, I remember, that happened, unfortunately. One of the statements that struck me was that, the crowds on 6th Street, I think this was by the chief of police, that they're back to pre-pandemic levels, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So the city is definitely
And
rebounding.
we're a younger, healthier city, and so it's I don't anticipate it hitting us hard again. We've got a very, I think around 60% have had both shots already. So, August, September, I don't see it increasing hospitalizations. So that means we won't have more lockdowns and even more easing of restrictions. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people are just trying to be cautious too, right? Because this is definitely a new thing. America didn't have a pandemic for almost 100 years, right? 1990, for over 100 years. So,
and the young people are leading the way. I mean, they're invincible, right? Remember feeling that way?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. I miss it.
Yeah, and so they're out there in full force every weekend, and it's just a matter of exposing more and more of the Austinites to that, and it's like, oh well, okay, we can really go back to normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's definitely a hunger for it. But Texas, I think, like Florida, they opened up rather quickly, right? When you look at it compared to the Northeast or some of the cities on the West Coast, which is understandable. I mean, they were harder hit, in the beginning.
Yeah, I was in Miami in mid-May, and it felt so different being over there. Just the number of people out on the streets, no one's wearing a mask, bars are full, restaurants packed. So it's just, hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think also, we talked about the migrating tech talent, right? Austin, I read an article a couple of weeks ago that Austin was the big winner in terms of tech talent over the pandemic because you had so many people moving to Austin. And even when I moved, in 2017 to Austin, I remember I was running an event for my previous job, and we had the mayor come. He was an MC, and he was telling me that I think 150 people were moving to Austin at that time. So this has been a percolating thing, but it just exploded over the pandemic.
It really did. We were ranked the number 3 city to quarantine in or work from home. Our like you mentioned, the tech jobs were we placed us number 1 as far as growth, and we're projected to grow new tech jobs at 3.5% for this year, which would place us at least number 3 in the nation. So yeah, it continues, and it's a lot of these high tech jobs as well, which are fantastic for us because the high wages that they earn, right? Really diverse, the industry sectors that those high tech jobs are coming from, not only manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, but also clean tech. You've got some pharma in there. You've got a lot of these research and development and engineering, those that the chamber has been pursuing to move their operations into Austin or this region, and it's finally paying off. And the fact that these venture capital firms, and we've got law firms that are specializing in venture capital, it's really helping us promote what we've been talking about for years.
Well, you have big names, right, coming in. Obviously, Tesla and Apple, they're building right outside. Isn't Apple building a facility right outside of Austin? Tesla within Austin. Oracle was already in Austin, I think, right?
Yep, they're here, and a perfect location too, south of the river. Yeah, a lot of different companies that have just picked up operations from the West Coast, the Bay Area, Los Angeles even, and Chicago, and of course New York.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, Texas is the 9th largest economy. Last year, I think it was the 10th, right? I think it's the 9th largest economy in the world this year.
Yeah.
Or was this year, and Texas is obviously a very business-friendly environment in terms of no personal taxes and incentives that are offered on local levels. So it makes sense. And I think it's I always, when I first moved to Texas and Austin and Houston, I was like, well, this is there's a lot of crossover in terms of industries and talent and tech talent and, R&D and manufacturing in Poland. And I was like, this is a really great match. And, I was very excited to start my job and help create that connection between Austin and Poland, or Texas and Poland.
Yeah,
and I think for the region.
We have throughout the state all these economic development organizations that are really strong. And as you mentioned, Houston has the Greater Houston Partnership, the strong energy and medical science industry sector, and Dallas with their fintech and communications, San Antonio cybersecurity, and really everything military related too. But we also, pull, since we're the capital city here in this region, a lot of interest from those different industry sectors. So we've got from the Army's Future Command here to a really strong growing fintech industry sector. Second in growth behind the New York area, and then oil and gas and renewables, particularly investment here in Central Texas has been really helpful for us to keep that growth. And we're over the 151 new residents a day, net new residents. So it's just incredible.
Do you think that, obviously we talked about, all these economic reasons for companies to move as well, right? I mean, the location of Texas is, you're smack dab in the middle, right? And you're also, the Latin America market, right, is close by. So I think, the economic incentives, the talent that's in Texas and the location, it just created this perfect opportunity for migration, right, of these larger companies.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. With the growing population, the amount of young people, engineers, STEM-related educational skills in the state of Texas that are coming out of our schools and universities.
Oh, yeah. UT
right?
is a powerhouse, right? In Austin for that.
In Austin. And then, you've got all the other universities as well. And we get a lot of migration from other cities in Texas to the Austin area, and then you go out of state, and that's the New York, the Chicagos, and California. But we're pretty strong. You mentioned earlier about our international appeal, not only getting the direct flights, which a larger city like San Antonio wasn't able to acquire, but the migration coming in from international destinations into Austin has usually been in the top 5 as well for us. So it's being the live music capital, self-proclaimed of the world, and having the South by Southwest conference here really helped us since the 80s develop this brand. And having Austin City Limits promoted on televisions around the world near military bases, right? U.S. military bases. It really helped us as well expose more people to Austin, and convince them that, hey, this is really the capital of the state of Texas, and we have some interesting things happening here.
Yeah, I mean, South by Southwest, the growth. I mean, my little Trader Joe's that I used to shop at in Austin has these wonderful posters from the first couple of years of South by Southwest, and you can kind of see how it grew over the years into becoming this mega festival. But I think, you're right. South by Southwest has to be given its credit because it drew such a diverse crowd from all over the United States, all over the world, right? And people would come to Austin. And, I first came not because of South by Southwest, but because of my previous job. I would come on a month basis. We were running programming coming from New York. And I loved living in New York. I loved living in a city. But with Austin, you get the best of both worlds, right? I mean, you get that city kind of feel, that vibe, but you're also close to nature, right? I mean, you can walk out of your office in downtown Austin and go paddle, right?
Yeah,
it's an amazing thing that Austin has. So I think it's a unique city, and that's why it's drawn such unique talent and a unique population.
absolutely. It's a wonderful place to live in.
Except the heat, though, I have to. The heat
Yes.
takes some getting used to, but I liken it. Someone, obviously as a northerner, it's my duty to complain about the heat. But someone once told me, and it was a very smart reply. They're like, "Well, what do you do in the winter? I mean, you're really not outside that much either, right? It's just reverse here." And I'm like, oh, that's a good way to think about it. It is kind of reverse, right?
Yeah, it is. I'm originally from Michigan, and
There you go.
so I hear you on that.
Yeah.
It gets pretty warm. I remember a couple years back we had, what was it, 90 days of 100 degree.
I think that was last year or
warmer.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Yes, and so it's thankfully we have air conditioning and climate controlled vehicles, so you can move around without soaking your jackets. How many business meetings have I gone to with?
Oh yeah.
With heavy sweat, but
everyone's like that. Everyone's in the same boat, right? But
yes,
it is
exactly.
crazy.
And it's just wonderful to be here. Michigan, very cloudy, overcast days or rainy, but down here you get so much sunshine. It was like so hard for me to believe that several days sunny skies and maybe not even a cloud in the sky. Just incredible. So I really enjoy this area.
Hey, look, we save money on our vitamin D supplements, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Well, I think our time's over, right? This is supposed to go.
I believe so.
All right. Well, Ben,
it was catch up with you.
Yeah, it was great. Since yesterday, I was out of commission with my voice. I'll be in touch with, like I said, I'll shoot you over Inga's email so you have it from the Baltic Chamber.
Okay.
And yeah, it would be fun to do an event, so either a demo or something with some startups from the CEE region.
Absolutely. Glad to help out in any way.
Thank you, Ben. All right. Well, it was great. Talk to you soon.
Yes. Bye now.
Bye-bye.